November 26th. Today begins with ground fog. It dissipates in the winter sun, giving us good fields of view. German bombers, accompanied by fighter escorts, drone around unmolested in the clear blue, cloudless sky. Grommel identifies them as He-100s 11s and Do-17s. I have often seen the slim Me-19s, the escort fighters, in air combat. Once in a while, we also recognize the heavy Ju-52, the so-called Tanta Ju, which is used for freight and as a troop transport. All of them are flying heavily loaded to Stalingrad, and when they are lucky, they come back empty. Warius and Swina were down in the village early to get clean underwear and lice powder from our kit bags. The little beasts have multiplied incredibly quickly on me, and I have already rubbed my entire upper torso. Warius says that 2 days ago the Führer declared Stalingrad to be a fortress. Some of the soldiers, those who were in Stalingrad, are furious when they hear it. They are angry at the way the war is being conducted, and because they are no longer given any opportunity to escape the encirclement. They speak quite openly of being sacrificed in a pocket which is surrounded by an enemy force superior to any before. Others believe the encirclement will shortly be breached by the approaching tank units commanded by General Oberst Hoth. I, and most of the reserve unit personnel, believe the latter. However, this optimism is built on wishful thinking, and it falls to pieces like a pack of cards. As even the lowliest soldier knows, the combat strength of our enemy grows steadily day by day, while we, with our inadequate weaponry, become weaker. Added to this come the days when we are only able to satisfy our rumbling stomachs with a handful of hearts we back. It is not lost on anyone that we remain here in a totally isolated outpost and are to be sacrificed for some strategic purpose or other. It will be at the beginning of December, only a question of days away, when Soviet superiority will grind us to pieces. On the afternoon of this day, November 26th, we have, however, received a boost to our morale in the form of an 88mm anti-aircraft gun, which is to be used in the ground defense role. We also get a 20mm quad anti-aircraft gun on a wheeled carriage. Before the 88mm gun is taken into position on the hillock, the ground is dug out so that only a little of the white-painted protective shielding of the gun can be seen from the front. As of yesterday, there are supposed to be 3 tanks in the village to give support, but because of a shortage of ammunition, they are to be used only in an absolute emergency. November 27th. During the early hours, an enemy reconnaissance patrol is able to gain entry into the village. We hear the gunshots. The emergency response unit manages to take some prisoners. Afterwards, the Soviets pound the village for hours with heavy artillery. During the morning, we're also bombarded with mortars and Stalin organs. However, they do not attack. Yesterday, the pioneers mined part of the village, but unfortunately one of our drivers in a personnel carrier ran onto one of the mines and was blown into the air. Because of the heavy shelling, we are sitting like moles in the ground for much of the time, occasionally checking to see whether the enemy has started his attack yet. It is my turn to keep watch, and I carefully raise my head up over the lip of the trench, but just then a grenade explodes right on the edge. The hot splinters zip past my head and my ears ring like mad. Dirt and debris rain down on heads and down the necks of those in the trench, but the roof holds. The snow around us has, for the last few hours, been no longer white, but rather mixed in with brown dirt because of all the explosions. It is bloody hard and wearing to sit in a hole in the ground and wait. What for? No one knows exactly, only that it is about our lives. That much we know for sure. Maybe we will take a direct hit, which will end what little is left of our lives. When that happens, we'll probably not notice anything. It would be bad enough if the enemy were attacking en masse. At least you can defend yourself. But here, in this awful hole, you can do nothing except wait. I try to think about other things, but can't. The howling and the crashing explosions over and around us banish all other thoughts, and there is only the fervent wish that this nerve-wracking din will finally stop. The only person seemingly unaffected is Swina. I can't see excitement and fear in his face like I can with the others. But then how could he feel these emotions? The poor devil can't hear the crashes and the whining of the shells. He looks at us unconcernedly and asks us what we're doing. To talk to him, you must go right up to him and shout. Then he understands. The artillery barrage lasts almost 2 hours, proof that they do not have to be too sparing with their ammunition. They haven't achieved much. Apart from a damaged machine gun and a filled-in trench, there's no harm done. November 28th. The night of November 27th to 28th passes quietly, but Meinhard brings bad news early in the morning. He says that our Spies and another Wachtmeister from the unit fell yesterday morning. Although we weren't that close to our Wachtmeister, he always kept his distance from us newcomers, we were still pretty shocked. What's more, he was our linchpin and our superior, and in spite of his serious nature, he always concerned himself with our well-being, as much as he was able to here in the bridgehead anyway. Now he is among us no more. There are only 2 service grades left in our company, the Schirrmeister and Unteroffizier Düring. Meinhard says that in peacetime the Spies served with the cavalry and that the job of the soldier was made for him. It doesn't seem to get all that light today. It stays hazy and cloudy, and the visibility is so bad that we have to be really careful in case the enemy suddenly looms up in front of us. Düring therefore sends several men to man the observation posts up ahead. Meinhard reckons that the Soviets will make use of the weather to get up close to us. As it turns out, he's right. Shortly after this, the observers come back to report that they've heard noises coming from the north and have heard commands in Russian getting louder and louder. They hadn't, however, been able to see anything, but there is no doubt that the enemy is on his way from the north. They hadn't heard any tank engines. Okay, so it's the infantry first. We're ready, and we'll give them a warm welcome. Düring sends word that we will open fire only on his command. He intends to let them come close, to within a certain range, and then take them by surprise with crossfire. We are standing with our weapons and getting excited. No one knows what will come at us. These are the worst minutes before combat, when everything in your body is at the highest level of excitement. The minutes become eternities. Then, they're here. The first figures approach, bent double, out of the haze, coming right for us. Everyone's waiting for the signal to fire. Pity I don't have any field glasses because something seems odd, something that I can't quite understand. Someone yells, "Those are our boys, don't fire!" Then Düring, "Keep your heads down. Everyone stay down." We do as we're told and keep looking. The soldiers in front of us are coming closer, and I can see those in front waving. Where have they come from, I am thinking, because their uniforms and steel helmets appear so new. Then Meinhard's machine gun hammers away and someone is yelling, "They're Russians, in our uniforms." The figures in the German uniforms are storming forward in an attempt to overrun us. Behind them come the others, in mud-brown overcoats and dirty camouflage uniforms. We lay down crossfire from all our machine guns and carbines. Those who have not been hit throw themselves to the ground. The attack stops. In front of us we hear shouts. Then 2 Soviet machine guns let loose. A rain of bullets comes towards us and mortar rounds explode all over the place. Another centimeter and one of them would have taken out my machine gun. I pull it back and crouch down. "They are attacking again," calls Weikert as he feeds another belt of ammunition in. It's a weird sensation firing on an enemy wearing your own uniform. It's as if you're shooting traitors. They are trying to overrun us in a second and third wave, but they don't make it, especially when the pioneers fire at them from the flank. There are an awful lot of dead bodies lying around on the snow in front of us, which are gradually freezing solid and getting covered by whirling snowflakes. We can hear the wounded groaning and calling out for help, but we can't do anything for them. Some of the dead even have German felt boots on, which we ourselves are in desperate need of. Where possible, these are removed from the stiff, frozen feet of the dead and put to use again. I can't find a pair to fit me, and so I keep my own boots on. Many of the soldiers even help themselves to the primitive ear flaps the Russians are wearing. They seem to be made out of a single piece of pressed felt, but they serve their purpose in the cold. My boots were too large during the summer, but if I hadn't put on an extra pair of very thick socks and placed some newspaper wadding in the boots, my toes would undoubtedly have got frostbite at the start of the winter, like so many other people's did. For this reason, a couple of days ago, we received some rather unpretentious-looking overshoes made out of woven straw, which Swina dubbed stroopotchen. Although we can't take very big strides when we're wearing them, they do insulate our feet quite well against the cold ground when we are standing around in our foxholes. Weichert and some of the others are also checking the kit bags of the dead Soviet soldiers, as we have not received any rations since yesterday evening other than a piece of army bread and half-warm tea. Weichert suffers from hunger more than any of us. He finds some black Russian army bread and some pieces of smoked meat, which also originate from German supplies. Swina brings a large bag of machorka for me, as he has noticed that I've been turning my pockets inside out all morning to salvage a pinch of tobacco for my pipe. Tonight, we again place the observation posts way out ahead. When Grommel wakes us at about 0300, it is quite cozy in the bunker, but to make up for that, very much colder outside. Everything is covered with rime because of the fog. The machine gun, wrapped in a canvas ground sheet, appears as a white, indeterminate lump. Behind us on the hillock, a flare goes up. The view from there is better. The fog is thicker in the hollow in front of us. Often we can't even see our hands in front of our faces. I trudge with Swina into the haze. The snow crunches under our boots and we follow the tracks. Then comes a muffled request for the password. "Railway," I answer quietly. "Come over here." I hear a voice which seems to be familiar, but I can't see anybody. "We are to your right in the foxhole," says the voice. Then suddenly, a figure stands in front of us and another is climbing out of the foxhole. Damn this thick fog. If they had not challenged us, we might have stepped on them. They report that it's been quiet out front. As soon as the fog has swallowed them up, Swina leaps into the foxhole. I still need to orient myself a bit. I'm only a few meters away from Swina, but I can't hear or see anything of him. I only know roughly where he should be. Bloody fog. I stumble over a dead body and realize that I am too far out front. I do not feel very well and crouch down as I think I can hear crunching footsteps. More dead bodies are scattered around. An uncanny feeling is coming over me, and I am regretting that I left Swina. I can't call him, because he can't hear me, but again I hear those crunching footsteps and muffled voices. Soviets. The thought flashes before me. Now don't panic, I think. My nerves are stretched to the limit. I reckon the Russians often stand around and then call to each other. They manage to keep in contact with each other in the thick fog in this way. Slowly I back away from the noises and almost step on Swina's head. For him it must be an awful feeling to be unable to see or hear in the fog. I indicate to him that something is happening in front of us, and it seems almost grotesque when he cups his hand and places it behind his ear to listen. We then creep back and tell the others. We wait until we can hear the voices quite clearly. Then Daring fires off a flare. It lights up only a small area, cold and ghost-like. Some figures stand stiff and immobile, as if with roots in the ground. Then suddenly they disperse. The first ones throw themselves onto the ground. We fire into the darkness. The Russians are yelling something to each other. Then we hear some clatter which retreats rapidly. A second and then a third flare go up. 5 figures are still lying on the snow. The others have disappeared. We assume they are from a Soviet reconnaissance unit, or men who have lost their way. It's only a small group. We fire a few rounds. In the light of another tracer, I see 2 figures leap up and run back. One is hit and falls down. 3 are still lying in the snow. Someone from our side is calling out something in Russian. It must be one of our Russian volunteers who was with the supply trains and now is helping us. A Russian is answering him, then stands up and raises his hands. The other 2 follow him. Among the 3 prisoners are 2 women, which we refer to as Flintenweiber. They are said to be more fanatical even than the Soviet soldiers. They do not have much to hide, and say they got lost in the fog with a group of 15 soldiers. We are well aware of their front lines and also of the fact that their positions are being strengthened day by day. December 2nd. After thick morning fog, it is now clearing up. There is considerable enemy activity in the direction of Cheer Station. I walk along the trench towards Meinhard's position. He has been talking to Düring, who has been scanning with his field glasses. Düring thinks the Soviets are preparing for an attack, says Meinhard. He has seen lots of vehicles and tanks. Apparently they are moving replacements in by transport. Meinhard is annoyed that the Russians have the audacity to form up in front of us, calm as you like. Those swine know full well that we have no artillery, otherwise they would never have the cheek, he grumbles. We watch the enemy for another hour. Then we realize that the bulk of their formation is moving southeast towards Verchna-Chirskiye. Another combat unit is supposed to be securing the bridge over the Don. When the Russians take the bridge, they will be in our rear and will have us in the bag. The flashes tell us that their attack is supported by well-equipped tank units. 3 of these dreadful steel monsters are coming along the railway line towards us right now. Suddenly, there are loud engine noises overhead. "Our Stukas are here!" Some of the soldiers cry out excitedly. The stress and anxiety within us vanishes in a trice, and we start cheering like children who've just opened a present. So there is some contact with high command after all. Can it have come from the south bank of the Don? Only later do I find that there is, in fact, no connection. The pilots had realized what was going on from the air and had acted accordingly. Later, Stuka support is again carried out without any reference to us. Nevertheless, each time they come, they are greeted excitedly, and they help lift our spirits, if only temporarily. First, there is a flight of 3 Stukas, which dive down, then 3 more follow. Their attack in front of us is a real spectacle, but even for us non-participants, it brings a cold, creepy feeling to the spine. The fearsome shark mouths painted on the engine cowlings give the enemy a premonition of the catastrophe that is about to be visited on them. The aircraft first roll to the side, then with the deafening wail from their sirens getting louder and louder, swoop down on their target. As soon as they have released their bombs, the planes climb steeply, only to dive again on another target. The effect on the morale of those on the receiving end must be terrible. It is just like the inferno of hell, even though the action is taking place far away from us. Within the next few minutes, black clouds of smoke billow into the clear sky. We notice that some of the tanks are moving in zigzag fashion to escape the attacking dive bombers. They don't really have a chance because the Stukas are over them again and again, sending their bombs down. When they have dropped their bombs, the aircraft turn and disappear over the horizon. Smoke clouds, large and small, show how many targets were hit and destroyed, mostly vehicles, tanks, and heavy weapons. The Stukas have accomplished a great deal, and the Russian infantry has been halted by the combat group south of the Don. We can quite clearly see that the Don Bridge has not been captured by the enemy. But how long will things last? December 3rd. The ration orderlies bring us thin, cold coffee, which we first have to heat on the stove. Each 4 men receive half a can of beef and a canteen full of zwieback. That has to last until tomorrow evening. Grommel counts out each mouthful of zwieback so that everyone receives exactly the correct amount. It is more than we received yesterday, when we got 1 loaf of bread, already mildewed, among 3 men. Typically during this period of the war, hunger so completely dominates our thinking that even the constant worry about our survival takes a back seat. The main topic of conversation is food. Even at night I dream about food and even dream about a delicious roast being cooked in the oven. Waking up is therefore that much more difficult, particularly when I discover that the noise is only a loud rumble in my empty stomach. Our lives are re-energized when we get enough dry army bread to eat. I chew it slowly in my mouth and savor the exquisite taste. I would even forego the best cakes. I would never have thought bread could be so delicious. But on many days, even bread is unavailable. It is taken for granted in normal times, but it's really precious now. This concludes the 7th part of the story. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe for more episodes and leave a comment.